Have you ever been at a wedding reception or a party, maybe a night out with your friends, and instead of dancing, you just stood there on the edge, watching? Maybe you had your arms crossed or a drink in your hand, telling yourself you were just waiting for the right song or maybe the right moment. Maybe you were waiting for someone to drag you out there first. I know I have. But here's the thing, it isn't that I don't want to dance. I love to dance. But sometimes something just keeps my feet planted right where they are. Last week, I asked you why not? Why not say or do the thing if it costs you little to nothing, but lands even the slightest chance that it could improve someone else's life experience? This week, I'm asking, why not be an active participant in your own life? I think a lot of us sit on the sidelines of our own lives. We watch, we wait, we observe from the edges. We tell ourselves that we're just not ready yet, or that it's not the right time, or that someone else will go first and we'll join in. And meanwhile, life is happening on the dance floor without us. So this episode, it's not about dancing. It's a bigger question. How much of your life are you actually participating in? And what's keeping you on the sidelines? Welcome. This is Being Human on Purpose. I'm your host, Sara, and I'm really glad you're here. If you've listened to the last few episodes, then you should know the routine at this point. Quick pitch for our upcoming Perspectives series. We all have a story, and even if it doesn't seem fantastic or life-changing, it has the ability to make an impact. You are the result of your education or lack thereof, life experiences, cultural backgrounds, spiritual beliefs, and personal values. When we take time to look a little closer at what makes us individuals and how that plays into how we see ourselves, each other, and the world around us, then we become a little more open-minded, compassionate, forgiving, and less judgmental. Everyone deserves to tell their story. So if you'd like to share yours, or if you know someone else who has a story they might like to share, then I'd love to hear from you. Submit your application on beinghumanonpurpose.com. On this podcast, I talk a lot about creating ripples, the small actions or experiences that change lives, the moments that shape who we become. Think about where those ripples begin. Maybe they begin when a child learns to care about a bird, or notices a rabbit, or writes a kind note to someone who needs encouragement. That's the heart behind my newest endeavor, Feather Haven Post Club. Every month, children receive a screen-free adventure inspired by the real animals that visit my backyard garden. Through stories, activities, kindness challenges, and nature exploration, they're encouraged to slow down, pay attention, and discover that even small acts of kindness can create big ripples. Because today's tiny humans become tomorrow's grown humans, and the world could use a few more kind ones. Visit welcometofeatherhaven.com to learn more. All links can be found in the show notes. Now, let's dance. A few years back, I went to Tampa Bay Comic-Con for the first time. It was 2 days. Day one, I went with my son. Now, I know I told this story last week, and I said that my son was 17, but correction, I got the years mixed up. He had actually turned 18 the month prior to Comic-Con. But day one, it was all about him and going to see Grant Gustin, the actor who played the Flash on the television series. Ben had been a massive fan since the very beginning. Like, this is the reason I love superheroes level fan. If you've never been to a Comic-Con or if you've never done the whole photo op signature bit, you sit around and wait for what feels like forever. But once that line starts moving, photo ops, maybe 15 seconds. Autographs with the headliner, even faster. You're not really supposed to hold things up. But the whole time we were standing in line, Ben was preparing himself. He knew he wasn't going to have much time, but he had something he just had to say. And when we got to the table, my son looked at Grant Gustin and said, "You're the reason the Flash is my favorite superhero." And Grant stopped. He looked right at my son and said, "Thank you. That really means a lot." And you could hear the sincerity in his voice. Now, I know Ben looks back on that as a really cool moment. But me, it has become one of my favorite memories of something we got to do together. And that moment happened because he chose to say the thing instead of just walking away with a photo. One sentence, that's it. But he participated instead of just observing. And it created a memory neither of us will ever forget. Day 2, I went back alone. Matthew Lewis was there. Matthew plays Neville Longbottom in the Harry Potter movies, and Neville is one of my favorite characters. I did the photo op, and yes, I was in full Hogwarts uniform. I got the signature, and then I just wandered. I watched people. I sat along the sidelines. And here's the honest truth. I had an okay time, but it was nothing like day 1. It wasn't because Comic-Con changed. Matthew Lewis was just as wonderful as I expected. Because he wasn't exactly a headliner, I actually got to chat with him about how everyone in my life, including my English grandmother, has been mispronouncing my name since birth. But that's a story for another day. The event was great. I was different because on day 2, I was just a spectator. On day 1, I was a participant. That distinction stayed with me. The dance floor analogy kind of just came up as I was preparing this episode, but it really does fit perfectly. I have spent the better part of my life waiting for someone to invite me onto the dance floor. Not literally. Well, there have been a few times, but mostly I just mean in life. Waiting for someone to include me or to reach out first, to create the opportunity or to build the thing I want to be a part of, to make the call, to extend the hand. Now I pride myself on breaking the stereotype. I prefer not to blend in with the crowd. I tell people all the time that I am not a bandwagoneer. When I see everyone running in one direction, I'm already facing the other way. There are exceptions. Typically when I'm already invested in something before I realize how invested everyone else is too. Harry Potter is a perfect example. I was a total Potterhead before I even realized it was a thing. Now I'm all in. But then you take Game of Thrones. Sorry to disappoint, but I still have not seen a single episode. I know I'll love it, but I'm just not ready for it right now. I did recently allow myself to get dragged into The Rookie. I'm not mad about it at all, although that cliffhanger that they left us on at the end of this season is a little infuriating. You would think that my going against the grain would equate to me being more outgoing. But more times than not, the devil on my shoulder wins. You know, the one that sits there telling you that you aren't all that, or you aren't as funny or cute or entertaining as you think you are. No one really wants to hear what you've got to say. You're just noise, like Charlie Brown's teacher. So I let the fear win. And I have missed so many opportunities. Not necessarily huge ones, life-altering ones, but opportunities to actively participate in my life. Opportunities that who knows what they could have led to. Maybe just memories worth holding on to. Maybe once-in-a-lifetime experiences that I'll never get the chance at again. Participation is vulnerable. That's what makes it so hard. It's easy to say, get on the dance floor. It's a lot harder to actually do it because every time you step into something, a conversation, a relationship, a creative project, a moment, you're risking something. Rejection, embarrassment, looking foolish, trying and failing, reaching out and not hearing back. The sidelines are safe. That's why we end up there. I genuinely do love going first, though. I love being the person who tries the thing before it's cool, who takes the road less traveled, who doesn't need a crowd to validate a decision. If I'm being honest, I find it easier to do the thing when no one else has done it yet. It's a whole lot easier to fail at something when you're the first person to try. If nothing else, at least you tried. But when others are already out dancing, there are plenty of moments where my anxiety wins, where I can see the thing I want to do and I want so badly to do it, but I just don't. And nowhere in my life is this more prevalent than karaoke. I love to sing, not in an I'm incredible and everyone should hear me way, just in a this brings me genuine joy way. I walk through the grocery store singing to the overhead music, and I will absolutely sing in my car with the windows down. Between singing and dancing through the store, I totally make Barbara uncomfortable on a regular basis. And honestly, I think at this point, I'm really kind of doing it on purpose because her trying to act like she doesn't know me is just fun. But karaoke on a stage in front of people, I can't do it. I don't fully understand why. I've tried to logic my way through it. I know I can carry a tune. In school, I was actually chosen to sing on multiple occasions, even with some solo parts on a stage. Not big parts, but solo nonetheless. But put me in front of a karaoke machine with a crowd, and something in my body just says, absolutely not. I haven't conquered it yet. I want to. So, yeah, this isn't the part of the episode where I tell you I finally got up there and I sang my heart out and it changed my life, because that just has not happened yet. I still sit there. I sing along from my seat at the bar or at the table, but never from stage. Oftentimes, those nights of missed opportunities, they stick with me for days, weeks, even months, wondering what it would have felt like to just do it. Enough about my insecurities around karaoke for now, though. I want to zoom out for a second, because I don't think this is just a personal thing. I think it has a lot to do with why so many of us feel disconnected from the world around us. We live in a time where consumption is so incredibly easy. You can scroll through other people's lives, their relationships, their adventures, their creativity for hours and never participate in any of it. You can watch people fall in love, build businesses, find community, take leaps, create things, and feel simultaneously inspired and completely removed from it. I think the disconnection that a lot of people feel, the loneliness, the sense of being outside looking in, I wonder how much of that is actually self-created. Not intentionally, not because we're bad humans, but because we've gotten really good at watching and really out of practice at doing. There's a difference between being a wallflower and someone who just got there. A wallflower, they chose the wall. They're watching, evaluating, waiting for conditions to be just right before they risk stepping out, if they risk it at all. But here's the thing about the dance floor. The people out there, they're not all great dancers. They're not all confident. They didn't all get an invitation. A lot of them were nervous. A lot of them looked a little ridiculous even for a minute. But they stepped out anyway. And now they're in it, having a great time. They're part of something. They're having the experience, not just watching it. And I think that applies to so much of how we show up or don't show up in relationships, in community, in friendships, in creative work, in conversations we're afraid to start. The people who feel most connected to their lives aren't necessarily the most fearless. They're just the most willing to reach out first, willing to look a little silly, willing to be the one who cares a little more openly, willing to say or do the thing. So here's the bit I want to leave you with today. I don't think participation is about being fearless. I actually think that's the wrong goal. Fear is part of it. That's not going to go away just because you want it to. I still can't do karaoke. That fear is real. But I think there's a difference between being fearless and being willing. Willing to make the call even though you hate calling. Willing to show up even though you might feel awkward. Willing to say the thing even though it makes you vulnerable. Willing to reach out first, even if you're not sure it will be reciprocated. Willing to step onto the dance floor, even if your knees are a little shaky. Because life doesn't happen on the sidelines. It's not that the sidelines are bad. Sometimes you need a breather. Sometimes you genuinely are just observing, and that's okay. But if you've been standing on the edge waiting for the right moment, the right song, or the right invitation, I want to gently ask you this. What if that moment is just now? And what if the invitation was always yours to give yourself? Before you go, what's one thing you've been standing on the sidelines of lately? Maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding, or a hobby you've been wanting to try, or a business idea you've been sitting on. Or maybe it's something as simple as finally signing up for that class you've been thinking about. Come find the comments and let me know. I read and respond to every comment. And if you're feeling brave, tell me what your dance floor is and what one small step you can take toward it this week is. Because chances are, you're not waiting for permission from anyone else. You're waiting for permission from yourself. If this episode stirred something in you, give me a like. And if you're enjoying being human on purpose and haven't already done so, subscribe wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Until next time, be a little more human, a little more on purpose. All my love.